Yeah, DQ. Check. Have you ever had a dream in the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In the room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Alright, nigga, have you ever had a dream during the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In the room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Calculated every step, so I can't stand a hater out here hating on me.
Check, look, bad bitch snapping in the hammock in the Hamptons. Business fresh tie with the handkerchief napkin. Flex bubble wind reverse goose when I camping. Camel print tent getting pitched by the mansion. My Cali boys ready for expansion. And we gon' make it ready when this happens. Headed to the shop, about to spend a couple dollars. $1,000 spent, Gucci print on the collar. 10 on the windows, gripping grain like a koala. We color leather looking like an empanada. Rims the size of Tyler's, nigga floating like an otter. Shout out West Texas, they see you my automata. You outta.
Quick! I'm gonna kill you, quick! You made me shoot one of my boys in the back of the head! And I know you had something to do with what happened to my brother, quick! Yo, man, I don't know what you're talking about! That's bullshit, man! You know what I'm talking about! I suggest you kiss my ass quick. Only way you going home is shot, motherfucker. What the hell you think you're doing with that little shit? Stop it! Stop it! Don't shoot that little motherfucker no more. Quick!
Yeah, that should get a sequel. That nigga Logic is a genius.
I'm gonna kill you, quick!
It's in the building.
You made me shoot one in the back of the head! And I know you had something to do with what happened to my brother, quick! Yo, man, I don't know what you're talking about! That's bullshit, man! You know what I'm talking about! I suggest you kiss my ass quick. Only way you going home is shot, motherfucker. What the hell you think you're doing with that little shit? Stop it! Stop it! Don't shoot that little motherfucker no more. Quick!
Yo, brother Logic. Brother Logic, you cooking with grease, G. You cooking with grease. You definitely cooking with grease, bro. Hey, Trimedia in the building for another one, another quick one. Hopefully, I got a lot to do. My man,
Team look good. Team look good.
Yeah. I gotta get my surgeon gloves on ready. I gotta cripple me somebody this week. It's first chance I get. I gotta knock a couple shoulders and wrists out of place this week. That's an inside joke over here. So I can't wait to get to New York to get my scissors on. And I'm definitely gonna eat at least a half a slab of ribs and some collard greens before I start working on my surgery this weekend. But I get it. What's up, Vince? How you doing? The we
Man.
want to discuss Project 2025. So I'm gonna let the brothers introduce themselves. Hopefully, this is a quick show. I don't want to go down conspiracy theater. We're gonna start with the brothers first for about 15, 20 minutes. This is another one of them shows. I don't care who watched the show, honestly. We just gonna put it into the ether and state our choice on it. Give y'all some facts along with the conspiracies. We got my brother Hits in the building. What's going on, brother?
Let me know if this mic is working first. Is this mic working? I got a different mic.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll find my headphones if not. What's up? Peace to the chat. Peace to the brothers. Yeah, I've been running around. It's been crazy. It's gonna be a short week for me. I'll be handicapped next time you see me. So
we got your back. We got your back.
Most definitely.
Yep, we got your back. You gotta worry about
all same stuff. This heat wave, man. I don't know what I'm tired of the heat, bro.
But you know,
It's better
tomorrow's
than
gonna
the
be
snow.
it's 105 again. It's gonna be 105. 105 and 105 is 10. It was 104 real field today. It's 105 real field tomorrow and 105 real field Wednesday.
This is oppressive for the Northeast folks.
Yeah, we're not built for this.
I don't want y'all to feel bad for us because it's it's a lot worse going on across the country. So definitely big shout out to them. Anybody going through some weather anomalies, that's crazy, but definitely hot up here.
Yeah. My brother DQ in the building. What's going on, G?
Peace, everybody. I'm good dealing with this Texas heat. You know what I'm saying? Me and the sun got a love-hate relationship, but man, we good. I'm loving it. Yeah, this Project 25 is an interesting topic. I've been seeing a lot of interesting people who are interested about this interesting topic. So yeah, I'm ready to see the different viewpoints, get to the bottom of it. Let's get it going, man.
My brother Logic in the building. What's going on? Are you frozen, Logic?
You froze, Logic?
Nah, the audio.
Yeah, your audio.
Say something, brother.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
There we go.
I
figured y'all was talking to me.
back.
Like
I guess
my
they're back, huh?
My internet is so bad here, man. I went out and got me a new computer today. Y'all look really clear, really crispy on there. So shout out to y'all, man. But the internet's kind of spotty, man. So I might be dealing with that till the 22nd. But anyway, I've been doing some research on this since this morning, trying to like get a handle on what it is, and there's a lot more like rhetoric than there is explanation, at least so far as YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to listen to it while I'm doing other things, and I don't really have a clear definition of what it is. It's almost like I get more of a warning of the dangers, the potential dangers of it becoming a real thing, rather than actually like an understanding of what in the hell Project 2025 actually is. I hear him say stuff like it's going to tear down democracy and turn the president to a king, and he's going to have way too much power, but never like how. You know what I'm saying? Like never like, oh, he's going to disintegrate this part of the Constitution or none of that stuff, right? I mean, so not really too sure. You know, I need some clarity myself, but I've been looking at this for like 3 hours now, and I'm still not very clear on exactly what the hell it is.
Okay, so we're gonna get this show started. Much respect to JD Vance. Congratulations to you. Let's get the feelings of the brothers on how y'all feel about that first. Much respect to JD Vance. He's the vice president elect, I guess, whatever you want to call it, nominee. That Trump chose today. He's a senator out of Ohio, OH. And what are y'all early feelings on that?
Just off the optics.
Yeah.
Because I know I asked a couple of people here at the shop. As soon as I heard it, I asked people at the shop if they ever heard about him. Of course, nobody heard about him, but told him, y'all about to figure out about him real soon. It's about to be a media blitz on him, just information and stuff. But just off optics, a lot of people were happy for it just because you have a 76-year-old Trump, 81-year-old Biden, and then this 40-year-old youthful looking man who might be full of ideas. Maybe 100% bullshit. We don't know. I'm just speaking about the optics of the first thing that when I ask people, the first impression when they seen the picture of him. So I'm thinking, I'm wondering how that is with the masses, just off the little small sample pool that I experienced today. But yeah,
He's from your neck of the woods, right?
Yep.
Brass?
OH, and he graduated from Ohio State University. So, hey, how do we move our faces to the right? What buttons up?
It's one of the ones at the bottom when you can choose the different frame. There you go. And then,
but now it's not screen.
Well, choose the one that shares the screen.
That's good. I just don't want Logic was getting blocked out by the banner. I think it's cool. I hope you can make good changes for the people. What's up, Mo? Hey, Mo, I need you to hit me up. We're gonna start streaming games online. That's one of my Xbox friends also that I game with. So I need you to show me some stuff. If you look at some of the videos we streamed last night, Red Dead and a little bit of The Division. So I want to start streaming on the channel a little bit more. So definitely hit me up. And any help would be appreciated. Go ahead, Hits.
I don't know much about him, but I think he's not as it doesn't seem like he's as staunch of a conservative as maybe they would have liked for him to choose, if that sounds about right. Yeah, I don't, his name just out of the blue, so I'm interested on hearing why, from Trump, like why did he choose him? Especially right after what just happened, so this is interesting.
Okay.
Before hear from people who follow politics a little bit more,
Yeah, I'm gonna give a thorough thing. I just want to give my brothers time to get in on it. What Logic? What you got?
I haven't heard anything about the guy. I'm not even sure who he is.
Okay. You know, I like having these conversations too, because y'all know in the Discord, we get attacked with a number of people all giving us their political prowess and don't know a damn thing about politics, and they tend to tell us all of these these things, and then when it comes down to the nitty gritty of it, they don't really know. JD Vance, he's 40 years old, senator in Ohio. He's a Marine, served in Iraq, graduated from Ohio State University, graduated from Yale Law School. And it's how can I put it? He's literally the perfect person for what Trump is trying to do right now. Trump right now is, especially after what happened this weekend, he's struggling a little bit in the bluegrass states. I.e., he got shot in Pennsylvania, so he's struggling a little in the Midwest, that region, that type of people. Also, if you win Ohio, you win the election, except for 2 times in electorate history. So if you win Ohio, you win the election. So it's smart to get somebody from Ohio. My strategy would be, it looks at why he didn't pick the other guys. He didn't pick Marco Rubio. And I think part of the reason why he didn't pick Marco Rubio was because, it's not really the so-called Hispanic vote, like my brother Cuban Crisis likes to say. Marco Rubio is not going to necessarily secure that vote for you. And then 2, he doesn't really help him. He's kind of strong in that area per se, or he's either not going to win. But I think the most important thing is to get to strengthen him in those bluegrass states. And then the second thing that most people don't realize, Trump needed a very strong vice presidential candidate because Biden and Trump are both old. So one of the narratives behind this conversation are, if Biden goes, per se, then we're going to be stuck with Kamala Harris. That's the tagline. I've heard stuck 1,000 times in this conversation. So you need a strong they both need strong vice presidential candidates. And I'm going to go out on a limb because they do vice presidential debates. The Democrats are going to try to stop vice presidential debates between J.D. Vance and Kamala Harris, because I'm going to take all money. He is going to wash Kamala Harris in any vice presidential debate they do. Wash. Where she normally performs pretty well. Pence was terrible to me, but have you ever heard of the movie Hillbilly Elegy? You ever heard of that movie? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but no, I haven't heard of it.
Well, answer there, nigga. He wrote that book that they ended up turning into a movie. I got the link for you. Give me about 5 minutes, Corey. Then I'm gonna bring you right in. He wrote that turned into a movie. He's a very sharp brother, man. And also, he's gonna bring Trump Ohio. Which, if you get Ohio, I think only 2 elections. I think one in the 40s and one in the 60s. Ohio pretty much determined who was going to be president of the United States. There's a term out there called "you win Ohio, you win the election." So that's a part of it. But we're gonna get into this Project 2025. One of the things that I'm gonna drop the link because this is not gonna be a long show at all. This is not one of those all-night shows. I was hesitant to even do this show because of the rhetoric and the different things that it's going to bring. This is a show that's going to float through the ether. Link is in the chat. So let's get into Project 2025. We're going to get into the facts. But that's enough on J.D. Vance unless anybody got any questions. You'll see more. And also, I'm in a hurry because the Republican National Convention is on right now. So believe it or not, I actually, that's something I want to check out. So Project 2025. Project 2025, here's the website, project2025.org. Building now for a conservative victory through policy, personnel, and training. Tagline: it is not enough for conservatives to win elections. If we're going to rescue the country from the grip of the radical left, we need both a governing agenda and the right people in place ready to carry this agenda out on day one of the next conservative administration. This is the goal of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project. I'm going to come back to that statement. The project will build on 4 pillars that will collectively pave the way for an effective conservative administration. So just so people understand, Project 2025 is a transitional project. It's not necessarily an ideology. It's for whatever the next conservative administration that we have. It's for them to do this in the first 180 days of the next conservative administration, which they're assuming that Trump will win in 2025. So that's the first nugget I want people to always understand. So when people bring this up to you and they're saying it's going to, we're trying to change the way they're going to do what I call sky is falling politics. It's a transitional project for the first 180 days, built on 4 pillars, policy agenda, taking the reins of government. It's got a lot of strange terms in it that are a little scary, right? They want to attack the general welfare. They want to attack the common defense, and they want to take the reins of government, independent regulatory agencies. So in essence, they want to take over the Department of Education. These are some of the more radical things. Taking over the Department of Education, removing the IRS, firing tens of thousands of selective service appointees. A lot of strange things per se. But once again, the most important thing is that it's a transitional thing. It's not necessarily in this, you see 180-day playbook. The time is short and the conservatives need a plan. This project will create a playbook of actions to be taken in the first 180 days of the new administration to bring a quick relief to Americans suffering from the left's devastating policies. So that's it in a nutshell. That's the website if you want to go to it. You know, if you want to look at it, the director, it's not that he's the director of Project 2025, but it was brought to you by the Heritage Foundation. Paul Dans is right now as the director, Spencer Cretion, associate director, and Troop Hemingway, uh, spelled horribly, is the associate director also of the Project 2025. So it's an initiative brought by a group, not necessarily by Republicans. Another myth, all Republicans do not agree with Project 2025. I would imagine the majority of us don't agree with Project 2025 wholly. Some of the things in there make sense, but this is not necessarily a new thing. This is before Reagan's administration. This is Nixon's administration. There's always been a group like the Heritage Foundation that will bring forth a policy that they want you to do these radical changes in the first 180 days, and then that's that. So do y'all have any questions before we proceed, and then we start the conversation?
Nope. I think you're hitting on it, on all the stuff that feels like I didn't learn in the last 3 hours. So this is like something that they want to be able to aggressively implement within the first 180 days, kind of like to set the precedent of all the stuff they might want to get accomplished after that moving forward, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a transitional, you know, it's not policy. It's going to affect policy. But see, here's the thing. Trump, one of the ways I blanket Trump in this conversation always is he has a lot of rhetoric that he does or he says to rile people up to get elected, to get the emotions involved. You know, I call it distractions, but you know, some people think his words, everything he says, they take everything he says at face value. I think he's a politician trying to get elected a lot of times. But I don't agree with Project 2025. I don't really look at it as a it's just, I think I look at it as another distraction. We're gonna bring Corey on. I want somebody in the other side that kind of wants to give you some more information. But I wanted to bring in the timeline. Shouts to Hits. I've been using my lens quite a bit lately. The initial concept and goals were defined in January 2020. March 2020, the team was put together. June 2020, they started securing seed funding for its development. September 2020, the first prototype was created and tested. December 2020, conducted extensive market analysis. March 2021, it was a beta launch to select users. I didn't get that email. Collected and analyzed user feedback from that beta program. Product refinement. They started establishing key industry partnerships. June 2022, public launch. October 2022, expansion. March 2023, it introduced major new features. In August 2023, they had a milestone achievement of reaching a significant user milestone. I'll tell you, I started hearing about this in 20, I want to say, because I got I would say around this time, February 2022. And then they won industry awards, but most of them were Republican awards, so I would kind of ignore that. And they started strategizing for future development. So this is not something that I very take serious. We're doing this based off of a conversation that we had in the voice chat. What is it safe to say most of the panel is learning about Project 2025, or what do you guys know about Project 2025 before we go any further?
I think how it was presented, you know, if you remove some of the propaganda around it, it seems like in suggestion that every president gets from different organizations and people who support them prior to them getting elected is things that they would like to be implemented, not necessarily what the president or the party that the president represents want. These are just outside groups with influence who have a proposal that you know that they present to whoever's running for president. And also, I think these things have more probably important impact because Trump is not a politician. He's not a policy person. He doesn't know policy. He doesn't draft policy. I don't even think he understands policy, to be honest with you. So this is he's the type of person that these policies could have more influence on, because he's not a politician. You know, he doesn't fit under that umbrella. So all of the suggestions outside of something that I believe, you know, without insider information, we all could sit there and go, I want a tighter border. But specifically, how do you do that? I want to lower taxes. Specifically, how do you do that? Like, he couldn't come up with that off the top of his head. So I think these things are more important, because he's the type of person that could be influenced by them, as opposed to a legit politician. And I'm not saying they're better or worse. I'm just saying he would have a lot less. He'd be more influenced by things like this if they're presented to him in a way that he feels benefits him personally, not necessarily the country. So I think this time it may be a little more important to pay attention to these things. And I think as we look back through his presidency, we'll find the fight was to get to his ear. Whoever was in his ear, and the last thing he heard is something he kind of went off. So there was a big, not public fight, but amongst people who supported him and his staff, it was all trying to get to his ear. Even from the Russians, the Chinese, they try to get to his ear because they felt, if I can be the last word in his ear, because he's not a politician and he is, more self-interested, I can get my agenda across. So I think this is a little more important because of who he is, good, bad, or other.
Okay. Anybody else want to go in before I'm basically just going to address the facts and the myths around this. By the way, I want to give some breaking news. Skip Bayless was fired at Fox Sports 1 about an hour ago.
Dang.
That's big news.
Yeah, he's out of here. So I'm probably gonna have a conversation about that. That's a pretty big news topic. We'll probably have a conversation about that tomorrow. So let's continue along the lines. So yesterday in the voice chat, we had a great conversation with my brother Cosmic Corey, and the overall sentiment was I want to hear his sentiment out. I want to flesh it out. Let's see what he's where he's going on this. So Corey, you have the floor, boss.
I just want to say peace to y'all panel. I just wanted to turn my camera on for a minute. I'm laying down in the bed, but I just wanted to turn my camera on for a minute for decorum. It's my first time on y'all channel, I believe. I ain't sure. I might have been on here before, but I appreciate y'all having me though, man. I asked the question. Did you ask a question, or were you just?
No. I wanted you to just take some time and flesh out your idea. This show only happened because of that conversation yesterday. I was against doing this show, so let's flesh it out. Let us know. Let us know your thoughts and feelings.
So I tend to, if y'all know me, I tend to go off the deep end, to grab people's attention, and then kind of walk back with them a little bit, right? Although most of the time, like even though I go off the deep end, I'm not really. It's a little bit of sarcasm and exaggeration there, but not much. You know what I mean? So I want to say I do understand. Like I always hate the fear mongering in politics. You know what I'm saying? I saw American Dream in the Discord, and I really hopefully American Dream is listening. I want to know. I really appreciate the fact that he said he responded to one of the videos that I put out about Project 2025. He said that was pretty good fear mongering. I think I'm paraphrasing there, but he said something along those lines. And I do appreciate that though, right? Because that's not my goal is to fear monger. But I do want to alarm when there's an alarm that needs to be rung. I want to ring the alarm. Not that I'm the one to ring the alarm for everybody or nothing like that. I'm just saying, like, when I see things in a way, I like to speak up on it. And so I just with the way things have been played out, you have the Trump base who his base are pretty much sycophants. They're not these are unreasonable people for the most part. Now, I'm not saying that everybody that supports Trump is crazy, but I'm saying, like, if you go to a Trump rally, like, I mean, you see who's there. I don't really have to go into detail about that. With a following and a cultish type following like that, that's dangerous for one. My man's mentioned that my man's here in the New York hat. What's my man? I don't want to call it my man.
Hits.
What's going on, Hits? He says
Whatever.
that Donald Trump is not a politician, and that's very true. Donald Trump is someone who's out to get what he can get when he can get it at all times. You know what I mean? He's out to benefit Donald Trump and Donald Trump only. You know what I mean? So that's kind of very dangerous. And then today, kind of really turned the alarms on me when he announced that JD Vance is his running mate. That really sealed the deal. It really confirm my suspicions about what he's trying to do here. I was waiting, and I'm gonna wrap it up here. I was waiting on him to announce that Don Jr. Was the running mate or the vice president. But I don't know that I would have even been as alarmed as this JD Vance announcement, though. So I'm gonna let y'all go from there. We can unpack a little bit of what I said. We can get into the details of the project 2025. I see y'all did a little bit. I got here a little bit late. So yeah, y'all can respond to what I said.
Okay.
If it was coherent at all. I may or may not have been coherent there. Go ahead.
No, you were coherent. What was what's your feelings on him picking JD Vance, and why do you think he picked him over Rubio and Scott and the other guys? By the way, I can let all y'all know I'm watching the Republican National Convention on another screen. So just if I look away, it's because I'm watching it literally on the tablet. Go ahead.
Is Tim Scott done speaking?
Hopefully, I can't look at. Bro, he has the worst. He's one of the most awkward human beings I've ever seen in my life. I was so glad he did not pick him.
He's an embarrassment. I'm embarrassed every time he's even on the TV screen. What's your thoughts on Vance? So JD Vance, the reason why I'm alarmed with JD Vance is because JD Vance is young, and now I'm a good listener, man. I'm a very, very good listener. I remember when JD Vance was he was a never Trumper, and he would talk about Trump and kind of like his ignorance, and he was almost he goes back and forth. He's real slick, you know what I'm saying? This JD Vance, he understands media. He understands dis and misinformation to a T. when you talk about dis and misinformation, this JD Vance is a professional at this game here, bro. He played a real game. He's a millennial, you know what I mean? I don't is he considered a millennial? I think he's like 39 years old or something like that. This guy is tech savvy. He's got the young crowd. Like I said, he had the crowd. He had those Republicans that weren't kind of warm. They were kind of lukewarm on Trump at first. Them young Republicans that was lukewarm on him. But then he was able to galvanize them in a way where now even they are, Trump supporters and Trump sycophants and stuff like that. So this guy, I think he's charismatic in a way. Now Trump is one of the most charismatic guys that out there, right? But where Trump lacks charisma, I think JD Vance has that other kind of charisma that Trump just don't have. You know what I'm saying? Being his age and everything, it was a strategic for Project 2025. That was a very, very strategic move, and I think that solidifies the chances of them pushing that through. Trump, they making moves. I don't know that Trump is the mastermind about this choice, right? I know he probably has a great deal of input on it because Trump don't let nothing get away from his hands, right? But I think somebody pushed this guy in front of Trump, and Trump just ended up liking this guy, right? Trump ended up endorsing this guy in the end. You know, they had a little quarrel, a little beef, but in the end, he ended up endorsing this guy. But I'm telling you, this is something to worry about, especially in light of Project 2025. I'm gonna stop there.
Good, Logic. Get in there.
I mean, I'm still waiting. I want you to be clear, Corey, because I'm not so clear, right? I've been looking around, for about the last 3 hours, trying to get what exactly people are afraid of, and I'm really not sure, and I want to be sure, right? It sounds like a lot of like just really heavy, government stability threats, right? Like it poses these huge threats to possibly the Constitution and like basically like allowing the president to be able to like bypass the structure of the government and be able to operate outside of he comes up with a bill or something and Congress votes on it, almost as if he can have power above that process to where he don't need the Senate or the Congress to be able to get stuff done. That was probably, I would say, the closest I got to like trying to really understand it. And I'm not so sure if the Constitution will allow that. So, if that's the major thing to be afraid of, it sounds like there are measures in place for that to already not happen. So I'm trying to get exactly what you see in it that is so detrimental to our everyday living.
Especially something like that response right there is kind of what worries me, because it seems like we're relying on people to be decent. You know what I'm saying? Like what we're saying is there's a Constitution, it's a rule book, and everybody's going to, of course, everybody's going to follow the rules. I mean, why wouldn't everybody follow the rules? Is kind of what I'm getting from everybody. You know what I mean? And what this is a blueprint to. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about as far as one example in Project 2025, because he already tried to implement it. And then I think Congress ended up winning back the Senate, and then so they overturned it or whatever. But this time they won't be doing something like that. So what, as far as he put in he implemented an executive order that essentially, like, all government agencies ended up just basically under his command. Basically, they're not acting independent. You see what I'm saying? So because he was saying, I think he said something like, well, they don't have, this system is all messed up, and I need to clean it up. I need to clean the system up, and so I'm gonna take control. You know what I mean? And so it seems like, no, he can't do that, but he actually already done that, right? And then somebody might say, well, it wasn't so bad because he didn't, really, really nothing happened. It was no consequences behind that. That was, dire or nothing like that, I guess. And the thing is, no, so these are just little small tests, and it's not people thinking like it's Donald Trump that's the mastermind, like he's thinking these things, right? No, it's not just him. This is being implemented. He's the vehicle that these policies are being implemented through. You know what I mean? And so, like, once you have government agencies that's not acting independent, now you're able to command these government agencies to do whatever your will is, and and then some people say, well, because of the Constitution and the fact that those people don't afford themselves the same immunity that the president does. Once you implement an executive order like that, they're actually acting. They're basically a vicar. When he gives them a order, now they're acting as a vicar to that president. You see what I'm saying? And now they have that same immunity. You see what I'm saying? So as a matter of fact, I probably should have came with some.
No, I don't think you need to go that deep. Like Brad said, this ain't a, shouldn't be a long conversation. If you look at things, just in again, I agree with Corey. Corey agrees with me. This is not Trump as an individual, because most of us know, like, honestly, his only care is himself. So if you look outside of that, why would he undertake certain actions? Why would he push back against certain laws? If you look back at his presidency, you can see the things he did that were unconstitutional, or things he fought against. Like, if I Google it now, separation of powers. If you get people on the Supreme Court, the Constitution doesn't stop people from doing shit. It's the courts. It's, it doesn't. So
and even they interpret that. Even
so
the Constitution is interpreted. It's a living document. So yeah.
And it usually starts in lower courts and ends up at the Supreme Court. And we all know that wasn't his master plan, is to stock the court with certain judges who lean left or right. We know that wasn't his plan. That was his Steve Bannon and the people, who were behind him, telling him how to perform, as long as he gets what he wants out the deal. Which is good, because I think even though a lot of people claim to support him, they won't say why. They really won't say why, because it's obvious he's in it for self. So if you agree with some of the things he does, or he comes across as cool or funny, or I can relate to that, we all know he's not in it for you or I. And you can do the whataboutism about other, politicians. Well, no one is, blah, blah, blah. But you'd have a difficult time maybe prior to his presidency saying that was obvious with people. You find out through their policies. You find out through the deals they make. You find out through news reports and documentaries. He's always been flat out. He's for self. So there ain't no excuse to misunderstand what he's in this for. But if okay, he challenged the separation of powers probably a few times, and once you do that, then you don't have a system of checks and balances to stop you from doing whatever. If you run the courts, now they can say what is constitutional and what is not. Violation of emoluments clauses. I guess that's when you receive, payments for something. Restrict immigration based on religion, interference with civil and human rights. These are all constitutional things that he had no problem trying to implement. Some of them went through. And I think what Corey's saying and what I'm saying is this go around, a lot more of those will go through regardless of the Constitution or not.
I think he had guardrails. And I just want to say real quick, not to cut nobody off real quick. I want to say, because it's a lot of it's a lot of things. And this is why Trump is always lucky. And I think he does this part intentionally. It's a lot of things going on right now. But what y'all probably missed in the news today, right, was that Judge Eileen Cannon, right, who's a federal Trump appointee, right, threw the federal documents case out. Nobody's talking about that. Now, why did she throw that out today? Why did she throw that out? It's because of what she now when they threw it back to the lower courts. See, when they threw the absolute immunity back to the lower courts, they say, go ahead, Judge Eileen. Now the argument that the defense had made earlier, which didn't make no sense, which didn't have no weight, right? Now it makes all the sense in the world. Now, you know what I'm saying? So now she says, okay, because she talked about what's his name, the investigator. He's unconstitutional.
Oh, the prosecutor.
The prosecutor.
What's his name?
Damn.
I can look it up. But it also gives him avenue to have it moved to a different court. So
see.
Go ahead.
Move it to a different court. The case has been thrown out.
Hold on.
The case
no. They can request it move. Well, you can file it in another court. That's just out of there, I believe. Hold on, let me court document case. I'm just trying to find I think he's a prosecutor.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah, he is. He's a special prosecutor. You know who I'm talking about.
Jack Smith. Yeah, Jack Smith.
Jack Smith. I'm sorry, y'all. I got a brain injury, so my memory be bad like that. But Jack Smith, so they saying he's unconstitutional, meaning his investigation, bro. This is what I'm saying. I'm not talking about whether he's able to go to another court and file it or not. What I'm saying is all those findings he's found is unconstitutional. And those are the grounds she threw that case out on. And see, it's working. The system, not the system, not the constitutional system, but the 2025 system is working. This is how it works, y'all. I'm trying to tell you, it's not like he's gonna come out and put the army out and say go get black people. I'm not saying worry about that or nothing like that. What I'm saying, that was hyperbole. The nigga ban was hyperbole, y'all. What I'm saying is this guy, when he says things, he mean it. And with these people trying to do, they not playing. Don't think this is now what I be saying is hyperbole, but don't think what these people are talking about is hyperbole. But go ahead.
No, I understand that. So okay, you kind of let me you filled me in on some spots that I was definitely missing. Because one of the people, I think it was one of the news channels. I can't remember exactly which one it was. It was like they had like a 10-minute long video, and at the end of it, they expressed about basically that system of Congress and the Senate having to vote on these things needing to be changed. So I was like, so that unless they can just throw that out, there's not much to worry about, because you still got to pass it through this particular system, and that should wean out some of the real radical stuff. At least that's what my first thought was, right? So, but I didn't know that they was just freestyling like that, and here and there trying to, sneak, certain stuff in here and there, kind of like under the system, and just getting away with it. I didn't realize that. So, okay,
Yeah. So you depending on the decent people. And that's kind of so the thing is, and I really appreciate that, because that's something I want to talk about too. Those institutional people, those bureaucrats, right? What America depends on is that guy that just goes to work and he does the protocol. Whatever the protocol says, he does that, and that only. If this happens, he's supposed to take this step, and that step. That's what America is dependent on. But America ain't never had somebody to say, listen, no. I know that's the protocol, right? But I don't give a damn about the protocol, right? They ain't never had nobody go to somebody personally. See, Donald Trump will call one of those bureaucrats that just do step 1, 2, 3, right? He'd call that nigga on the phone personally and say, hey, listen, we don't do that no more. This is who y'all dealing with here now. My man's
hold on. He called that Georgia
politician. My man told y'all he's not a politician.
And told him find some votes. He called them up, right? He called around. Yeah, that's and again, that goes back to what you said. If you're depending on someone to do the right thing, what's right for you and what's right for them ain't the same thing.
Look at Colonel Vindman. You remember Vindman hits?
He was his brother. Didn't he have a brother who also was in it?
He was a whistleblower.
Yeah. And they went after his brother and everything, I think.
He was one of those bureaucrats that do the step 1, step 2, step 3, right? He said, hold on, I got to start recording this. Oh, wait a minute. Now, when he said that, now I got to take this up to the Defense Department. Matter of fact, I need to talk to somebody because now I need whistleblower protection. See, he did step 1, step 2, step 3. He was a bureaucrat, but guess what? That Vindman, he got more death threats. He lost his job. First of all, he lost his job. First of all, career person, right? Now he get more death threats than the guy who just shot at Trump's family do. You know what I'm saying? His family can't walk down the street. Colonel Vindman's family literally cannot walk down the street. Now, when you get somebody that do things like that, that changed the game. See, now the next person ain't gonna be brave. You think, is you gonna be brave like Colonel Vindman? Because I got daughters, bro. Colonel Vindman his kids is grown and off college. They soldiers and shit. They might can handle that. Mm-hmm. If they tell me, like, yo, this is what you're supposed to do and shut your mouth, I might have to say, bro, like, listen, I'm gonna shut my mouth. I don't need no death threats behind me and mine. You know what I'm saying? See, then what happened when I'm the bureaucrat that's in office? That's supposed to do the Constitution thing that you said, Logic. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying?
No, I think there's ways around
over the Constitution. I'm sorry.
I think people are finding out there's ways around what we think are the guardrails. That's as simple as I can put it. Even for the people on the other side who agree with, absolute power for the president, that you can gerrymander, the voting districts, that you can enforce religious beliefs wholeheartedly when it's supposed to be, separation church
The
and state.
Constitution clearly says separation church and state.
So I think most people believe in those guardrails. And as we go forward, I think we you know, we're all going to, if we want to see, or if we want to understand that they're flimsy.
Well, I think that's the point, though. We do believe in them, though, right? So we all believe in them, and that's why we need to understand how fragile this is. You know what I'm saying? We need to know how serious this is. You know, if you believe in the Constitution. Now we want to make some changes to the Constitution, right? This is not some type of religious document to us, right?
Yeah, amendments.
But
yep, amendments.
we understand it's an imperfect document, but we have to uphold the principle of it. You see what I'm saying? The principle.
No. I don't believe people think it's a weak document. I think people believe that the quote unquote guardrails keeping it in place are stronger than they are. You know,
yeah.
They're not. It's like the courts. No, like that's been proven. The public opinion, states' rights, voting, economy. There's all the businesses, you know, corporations, and how much input and pull they have in these different type of issues. Other countries, you know, we downplay other nations, but they also have a lot of pull depending on what person we have in the administration. So because you saw that with Trump as another example, you saw how he was with China,
in
Russia.
APAC. Look at APAC.
It's they all have some, you know, connections, and I guess certain avenues that they go down. Like now you have Biden with the, you know, I guess the president from Ukraine. Meanwhile, you got shit going on all over the world, just as important. But no, I think the guardrails aren't as strong as people may think they are, and a lot of people hope that they're weak. They hope it fails. You know, that's the part I think is the confusing part, is what people really think is going to happen if the president, just say worst case, calls the military to enforce anything crazy. Your family's in the military, my family's in the military, their family's in the military. It's like, it's not a simple thing. You know, it's a pipe dream, but it doesn't stop people from trying, you know.
Okay. I learned
that's
something.
Worst case.
So where you at on all that, Brass? You was sitting there kind of shaking your head, look like you got something, man. What's the
I see some pushback behind.
I was just listening to all the falsehoods. I was just listening. I just sat back. I'm watching the Republican convention and listening to all these sweeping statements that are just not true. But like I said, I don't want to argue with my brothers. This is an informative show.
Well, just pick one. Just pick one.
I mean, it's so many. It's like picking an apple out of a.
Pick the most glaring one. Pick the most glaring one.
Let me give you the one I'm interested in. The guardrails part of the conversation, right? Where are you as convinced as they are about the flimsiness or the it's very easy to misinterpret or kind of like use it as a loophole. You see it the same way?
No, I think they're vulnerable. I think that for me, that would be a better word rather than weak. I think vulnerable would be a better word. Because presidents, like you said, they use executive orders all the time to try to bypass the checks and balances part of the government. Obama, to move away from Trump, Obama and Trump, they both have tried, and a lot of other presidents have tried. So I would say vulnerable, because as you get more creative, as the law evolves per se, there's just ways around it. I mean, you can look at things like Banyan. Banyan, he was always going to be somewhat problematic because he literally spends. That's his niche besides elections, getting people elected. His thing about swaying the people and getting and working directly on these policies to try to get around the Constitution. I agree with you there, Hits. It's not Trump necessarily, so I think he gets way more credit than I think he's one of those people that is like 50 Cent once said, I don't have to go to Harvard, but my accountant did. I don't have to go to Harvard, but my doctor did. You know, those kinds of things. So he's pretty good at placing people around him that do that. Another vulnerability, rather than saying weak, is just a matter of appointing judges. And that's one of the main points I disagreed with. But like I said, I don't want to argue. I don't like to argue politics. I just go off what I was taught. So I just think for me, weak is just too strong of a word because I'm an American, a proud American. So it's proud African American also, but we're talking about simply the Constitution. So I think when you promote these judges and you can control, like in the case of Eileen Cannon in that story, it's more serious, I guess, than most people would say, but it's got a lot to do with delaying a lot of this stuff. It's mainly like a delay tactic, and in politics, not in politics, but in court cases all the time, there are certain things that are used to delay. You use all the power. That's what a lawyer's job is to use all the power that they possibly can to get their client in the best in the best position. And, to delay proceedings in these classified documents, it benefits Trump. And it just so happens that Eileen Cannon was appointed by Trump. So I think it's more to do about this presidential immunity thing as they start to flesh this thing out, as they start to figure out, as Kaisi Hunt, great speakers tonight. The South Dakota governor speaking right now. I think it's more about the president, the immunity thing, the immunity case that the Supreme Court just ruled on. And as they're trying to see how that's going to play out and how that's received, I think that this is more of a delay of let's get Trump elected and then sort this out later. Because while he's in office, I don't think he'll be tried for any of this stuff. To be quite honest, I think the majority of this stuff will disappear if he wins the next election. But there was a couple of things before we get into Project 2025. I was doing some research on this other end, and me and Hits are diametrically opposed on some things politically, and we agree on a lot of things politically. So I don't like to make it seem like we're on completely different sides of the spectrum. But I don't think the courts are stronger than the Constitution. I think that's a good statement, right? But I've always looked at the Constitution as the law of the land, and that the courts just interpret that law. So there's many cases where, and that's why I say vulnerable. As we make all of these different extreme judge choices, they're attacking the Constitution at everything. It's a living document, but it's a living practiced document. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Period. It's the thing that gives us structure. It's the thing that gives us is how our government works. The checks and balances, and the judges and the courts are just interpreting that law and trying to apply it or alter it. Right. So even with executive orders, like for example, I'll give you a perfect example. Like when Corey, we were discussing the Muslim ban before he brought up the nigga ban, and Trump with his Muslim ban, he reached, and then in order to get it passed, because the Congress wasn't with it, even Republicans weren't with it 100%, and it took 2 or 3 iterations of that ban in the end with the Supreme Court to say, all right, we'll use some of this, but the most extreme portions we're going to use. So I think the Constitution and the courts, it would be a better look to say that they are interdependent on each other and they work together. But if you had to discuss which one would be technically more powerful, I would always say the thing that gives the law, that creates the framework that the courts interpret and apply. I think the Constitution is more powerful than it's given, even though it's an old document. And you can look at a lot of the, because even to get something taken out of it, you got to get 2/3, and 2/3 is damn near impossible in this particular political climate. So that was one thing that I definitely didn't agree on, but I didn't want to cut my brother off. I wanted to let him cook like hot grease. I think the Constitution is more of a barrier than the courts are in the United States because it always ends up with the Constitution. They always end up going back to the Constitution and the courts trying to discuss what their interpretation is on why it should change, and then it doesn't necessarily change. So I didn't see a lot difficult in what you guys were talking about. You both sound like left wing voting types or votes more to your policy. I don't know which one, if y'all consider yourselves Democrats or Republicans, but I don't make sweeping statements in regards to the framework of the United States because it's that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
So I think this brings us back to what Logic was talking about, like how
Mhm.
how are decisions influenced? You have state courts. Everything doesn't go directly to the Supreme Court.
Right.
So if you have Supreme Court justices that are right leaning, and you have state courts and governors and those structures that are right leaning, a lot of things get kicked back down to those states. Like you have the abortion issues that are it's not federal yet, but that's one of the things I think they're pushing for, and I think this could lead us into Project 2025. So that's another way. Like things may not ever reach the Supreme Court or get kicked back down to local courts. Corey brought up that this judge made her decision probably based on the recent ruling that he couldn't be charged, while because those acts were committed while he was, I guess, carrying out the duty of his, of the office. So I'm not saying that a sweeping statement would be that the Constitution is weak. I said the guardrails, and that's one guardrail, is that it would go through the court system and eventually end up at the Supreme Court and get a decision. That doesn't always work that way. They can get kicked back down to a court by a Supreme Court majority ruling. So that falls in line with left and right leaning. Who you appointed, throughout the nation as federal judges, and all administrations go through that when they get in office to appoint federal judges. That's not just a Republican or a Democrat thing. That's just part of being, that's just part of the new administration. So everything doesn't always end up there or direct threat to the Constitution. So you can have unfair decisions that never make it that far, or get kicked back down the lower courts to people who favor, your opposing opinion. So it's sometimes it's untouchable, the Constitution, law of the land or not.
Yeah,
you may not get that far, So that's what I mean by, like, there are ways around the country being fully protected by it. Like from the obvious standpoint, we can pull up court cases, but that's super boring. I'm just saying in general, what people believe is that's it and that's that, and that's not how it works. That is definitely not how it works.
Shouts out to Governor Christy Noem speaking at the convention right now of governor of South Dakota. But I mean, when I look at things like as far as
I don't know anybody in South Dakota. You?
I know Christy Noem.
I think you're a victim of the system. You're a victim.
A victim. Okay, now we're getting spicy.
You're a victim, just like all. I'm gonna say we all are for the most part. I think me and Hits, our red flag have kind of been pulled, but for the most part, Americans are victims of the system actually working. Those Colonel Vindmans. We're victims of always having those Colonel Vindmans there. You know what I'm saying? And other people from other countries, when you listen, so and I keep bringing up Colonel Vindman, right? because his father, he's like me. He's a first generation American, right? So Colonel Vindman really appreciates America and its and the Constitution and everything that comes with this democracy, because he can see those alarms go off, because his parents, that's still like, his parents still have those scars from being under, authoritarian regimes and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It was another Secret Service lady or something like that that came out. I believe she was from Ukraine or Russia or somewhere like that. But she was the ambassador to Russia, and she was alarmed by some things, and like, it was because and those people, like those people who are foreigners who came over here and now they're citizens now, or who, like Colonel Vindman, who are first generation, right? Those people were those whistleblowers because they see the signs. You know what I'm saying? It's those Americans, right? Those Americans that's been here, that's been used to the system working, right? They just think the next person, oh, the person over me gonna take care of it, and then that person says, oh no, that person over me is gonna take care of it, and then this person, you know what I mean? But see, it was plain that those foreigners can recognize things quicker, and they're not victims of being comfortable in the same way that we are. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by being a victim. I didn't mean to slight you. I told you I always
No, it ain't no
jump out
slights,
there,
Corey.
and
I'm
then
just
I walk you back with me.
yeah, no, it ain't no slight. I'm just trying to. I'm just giving spice. I'm actually excited to interact with you, because a lot of times one of the reasons why I was hesitant to do the show is because conversations like this, like Hits to Say, are somewhat boring. Everybody, even when we have these hip hop conversations, people are always here a lot for the mess, right? A lot of the arguments and yellings and things and that. But when you start getting into a little bit of the technical things and remove the racial components and things like that, um, you get less of a view. But these are the conversations I like to have. These are the things I watch. Like I said, I'm a C-SPAN junkie.
And who cares if it's boring though? Like,
no,
I'm
for me,
passionate
this
about
is
if we're
fun.
passionate, we
I'm
gonna make
passionate.
them interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm very passionate. Right now, they're playing Biden's bullseye comment about Trump, how it's not aging very well now that Trump got shot the other day. That we have
I
Trump in the
hate
bullseye.
false equivocation.
Yeah,
Why do they do the false equivocation? If anything is gonna trigger me, it's a false equivocation, man.
But you know what's funny though? I thought that the Republicans would be the ones that pounced on it. But the fact that Biden is making so many missteps, I don't know who's advising him, but he shouldn't even be addressing it. It shouldn't even be a talking point, but all day long he's been apologizing for saying that we have Trump in the bullseye. In actuality, it's just words, and wouldn't even have mattered if he didn't get shot.
Also, I think people are holding him, and here is to me the funny part. Like, you would expect Biden to act like an adult, but if it was vice versa, you would expect Trump to act like a child.
Yeah.
To me, that's so crazy. And again, if you look back at any of Trump's speeches about Hillary Clinton, if you go back to the things he said about Alexander Vindman, people who have been injured, news reporters, his opposition, those are some things too, Logic, where that's not fully of your office, is when you personally target people. That's not a part of your office. So those are things also, how guardrails that are normally meant to be in place, even though he didn't sign an executive order to say go after this people, is pretty much a green light on these people. But we would expect Biden to act like an adult But if it was vice versa, which is proven, this is the other thing. You don't even got to if Trump's opposition fell, what would he say? Google it. You'll see the shit he said. If Trump's opposition, got hurt or lost a bet gambling, what would he say? You can Google it and see the shit he said on CNN.
Well, what did he say about Nancy Pelosi's husband when he got
when he got attacked by the hammer? Yeah, it's to me again, it's that common thing we all know, but sometimes it's more, fun to make these false equivalents. Like, well, Biden should know better, and that's the sad state. Well, not you. No, I'm just saying that's the sad state of the country.
Yeah.
One is completely childish, and just self-absorbed and obvious. But people think that shit is cool. Okay, it is cool. Is it cool enough to run the country? Some people think so. But if another person, they should be held to different standards because they know better. And just because Trump's not a politician, he's 78 years old. He can't conduct himself. Like we wouldn't expect him to go on the air and say, "Oh, well, I feel so bad. What happened?" He probably would say, "Oh, he should have ducked." Yeah, and that would be fine. So it's just, to me, that ain't left or right. That's human being shit. Like, we're looking at one human being, comparing them to another, and one's childish, one's beyond senior, and we're comparing them under two different metrics. And he never operated under that metric, and I think that's where it's not his fault, because a lot of people would get away with shit. Not everybody. I'm with Corey that people think people in the right place gonna do the right thing. Nah, most people full of shit, scared to death, nervous, lazy.
Look at them police officers outside.
Trying to take it because they're humans first. They're humans first. But it's just another one of them things where we look at two people and go, we know one's not going to, but the other guy should. But there's no winning. Like, you can't get low enough.
Yeah, I think for me, that's why I was saying misstep more than anything, and that's why I was saying the people. When I look at Trump, I think people say a lot of times it's like, or Trump did this, or Biden did this, or Trump said this, or Biden said this, and I think and not you hits obviously. I just want to be clear. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about the tenor of the country. They don't really understand about these guys, like right now.
We Americans. We talking about all of us. We all.
No, but what I mean is less educated people on how things actually work versus what you see. That by the time it hits the screen, these are talking points that were presented by advisors, talking points that were presented by a crew of people. There's mandates in place right now. There's this mandate about Biden not speaking outside of a teleprompter and stuff like that. So when I say Biden, I think it's a misstep. I always look at presidencies as administrations, and I don't think it's a good idea. It's good to keep the office. One of the most disappointing things that Trump's advisors have done is that they fed into the things that Hitz just said, and I'm one of those people that I didn't just only appreciate Barack Obama because he was African, or Black, African American, whatever term you want to use. I appreciated Barack Obama because he brought back he brought back a presidential attitude to the presidency of the United States. It was more like, this is how the president is supposed to carry himself. This is how the president is supposed to speak. This is how the president, even when he's emotional, there is presidency. You're kind of taught in politics, when you are getting the more upset you get, the more you lean into humor. That's why they say he's one of the funniest presidents. Not necessarily. He was angry quite a bit. That translator thing with Key and Peele was true. He never really told you what was on his personal mind. And his advisors, even when you read his book, The Letters to My Father, the other books, it was focused on him being presidential, restored a faith in the country after Bush kind of eroded a lot of the faith in the country. But moving on to a couple other things. Let's get out. We can have a political discussion all day long. Y'all more than welcome to come on up and speak. So I just wanted to get into some of the myths that I think that Project 2025, and I think that'll lead us into some pretty good discussions too. Some myths, maybe you might even, maybe not even myths, maybe misconceptions too. And I'm just going to speak a little bit to it, and then after that, I really have not too much. Like I said, this is a political discussion. I like having these as long as it stays with some level of and I don't even care about decorum because I've been in political arguments all my life, but a level of some kind of reasoning, whatsoever. But like the first misconception, and I developed these from Wikipedia, some sources I already had, and then also God. That Project 2025 is a radical overhaul of government. I don't look at it as a radical overhaul of government because things like this, it's been presented before. Reagan tried to do it. Trump in 2000. Everybody says that they're just now hearing about the Project 2025. Well, in 2015, Trump tried. There was a similar transition done for Nixon. There was a similar transition done. These foundations, and I'm not gonna say that publicly. These
it's really similar to Reagan's too, though. I'm glad
right. These things are always now. There's Democratic versions on the other side also, where they submit these things of, listen, the last presidency did this, and this. So in order to fix that, we're going to do all of these things. But these people are usually not connected to the president as far as they're working for the president right now. These are usually former officials, former advisors, former consultants that get together. And this is one of the issues I have with social media age, because in the social media age, a lot of these things move with a lot less information. So you don't hear things like, and that's what I mean by we're a little different on the panel than the rest of the country, Corey, because you would understand that like, this is just a new version of an old thing. This is something that they've given to Republican presidents that are about to win or have a chance at winning, and Democratic presidents that are campaigning and about to win. So, and now it does propose significant changes. Don't get me wrong, but the majority of the goals, many of its goals, I won't say majority, many of its goals align with principles like reducing government. Republicans have, one of the things that would make me a Republican per se are literally the reduction in government. More, and if even with the reduction in government, a more efficient government, and then having some form of fiscal responsibility and the reduction of taxes or whatever you want to call it, moving more of the employees stateside versus global, and pushing entrepreneurship. So they're not that new, right? But they're basically just discussions that that have been had over time. It's just people in the social media age tend to focus more on the radical aspects of it. Do anybody want to speak to that? I got a couple of myths that could move the conversation forward, and then y'all tell me if y'all think those are misconceptions or if I'm off.
I think that's the impression that I get. I think fear mongering is way more common than we realize. That's like the biggest thing that sits in the back of my mind as I, listen to the so-called well, I ain't gonna say so-called, but the people that are the professionals talking about it. It sounds like they want us to fear it, but they're running it almost like a anti-Trump campaign ad. So I feel like I have to like navigate through all the campaign ads to try to figure out exactly what it is that's being said. And y'all actually left a strong impression on me. I didn't know that there were so many creative ways to kind of get around, that how did you describe it? The structure of the government, or like the just the normal way of getting
the guardrails, you said.
Right, the guardrails essentially, right? So, but I got a question for you, right? So
yeah, the bureaucracy, basically, yeah.
Right. So Brass, like where would you say the conversation starts to get wild to where like we are now entering in territory where our premise is basically the problem? You know what I'm saying? Well, our misconception of how all of that stuff works takes us into a place where we're now starting to assume this fact being true, and we're carrying on the conversation on the faulty premise.
I mean, there's a lot of radical points to it, but one of the things that, like, for example, Corey brought up Colonel Vindman. Colonel Vindman is a great example of the checks and balances actually working. Trump in that phone call, I mean, that was just a not intelligent whatsoever. But the phone call, I agree, was inappropriate. I don't think it undermined national U.S. security as much as people made it out to be, but it definitely undermined it. And the fact that even, now he did get retaliated against, he did get reassigned, all the bad things happened to him. But I think that, what he did actually, even though Trump tried to get around, or Trump's administration, I'm gonna just say Trump, but I just want y'all to understand, I mean the administration and consultants and advisors included in that. They tried to get around that call, but the fact that it was pivotal in the fact that we heard it. The fact that he was able to be a key witness in regards to it. So I think it's in a place where Trump is kind of seen as king, the fact that a whistleblower and a key witness against him was able to be in these impeachment subcommittee hearings, and it was simply forced on the thing, like Hit said. You got to be ethical. You're the president of the United States. This is your administration. You have to conduct yourself ethically. You have to you can't just say I'm just going to get around it by making a phone call and discuss national secrets on a phone. That's just to get around something. You can't do that. So I think those are the kinds of things where when we say that the sky is falling, it's funny that there's always things kind of put in place. Even when we were talking about constitutional framework, then I land my plane. There's so many examples of cases where the Constitution upheld things that we fall back on, and these are cases that everybody knows. Brown versus Board of Education, Hodges, Loving Virginia. Roe v. Wade is kind of a firestorm right now, which I fully expect. And I'll keep that private too. The same-sex marriages, I think that's Windsor. So, there's certain things that when it does, even though the courts, state courts, national courts, local courts, even though they get involved and try to make these changes to kind of go against the Constitution, like, for example, we'll just take the first one, Brown versus Board of Education. State laws were establishing racial segregation in public schools, but it was the courts, like Hit said, declared the state laws unconstitutional. So it overrode separate but equal. So I think that's why I say it's more of an interplay on a state, local, and national basis between the courts and the Constitution versus one. I would say the Constitution is more powerful, but I don't even like to use those terms. That it even in these mandates there will be conversations, and that's one of the myths that I have, is that even in these mandates, don't think that even Republicans, and because it's a Heritage Foundation policy, not a Republican one. The RNC, there will be no presentation on Project 2025 at the Republican National Convention. This is something brought forth by the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah, and they trying to, and Trump himself has distanced himself from that. But again, they say things and then they do another thing. They clearly, he want to drain the swamp, but then you're on the phone with the president over there in Ukraine, and you know what I'm saying. So this is wild. But what I want to say, and what I'm going to say is probably going to raise Logic's fear-mongering flag here a little bit. But I think Brass, I have to remind you of what I said the other day, and I'm not coming with a fact or nothing. This is mostly just, I guess, conjecture or heartstring pulling a little bit. But I I told you the other day, Brass. He knows the things that he did wrong. He know about Colonel Vindman this time. You know what I'm saying? You don't.
I'm listening to you.
This
I'm just
is
hearing you
what
out.
I'm saying. He know about. He didn't know. My man's Hits said it. It goes back to what Hits said when I first got on the panel. He's not a politician. He didn't know that Colonel Vindman was going to be there at the goal post. He was running goalie. He didn't know that Colonel Vindman and the company was running goalie. Now he know. Oh, okay. Those the ones with the goalie jerseys on right there. We're gonna make sure they ain't in here. We ain't having no goalie. This is why Mike Pence ain't gonna be there this time. Guess who's there now? JD Vance is there.
A very smart man.
JD Vance is there, not Mike Pence. Mike Pence, don't y'all understand that the Republican Party already knew who Donald Trump was? That's why they put Mike Pence there right next to him. That was one of the only ways that he was acceptable to the evangelicals was through Mike Pence. You see what I'm saying? I'm telling you, he don't have a Mike Pence there, and he know what Colonel Vindman look like now. I'm just gonna say that. I know your fear mongering flags is raised up.
Yes, they are. But go ahead. I mean, I want good discourse. So I ain't stopping you. And then I want to let Cuban.
No, go ahead. I'm done. I just wanted.
Go ahead, Cuban. I know you joined the panel, and I want to introduce Cuban as a capitalist hater. And okay, go ahead, Cuban. Say what you want.
What was the question, though?
No, just speak on the conversation. I mean, you've heard some of the conversation. I'm gonna move forward with my second myth. So my first myth is that Project 2025, I'm gonna just call it 25, is a radical overhaul of government, and I think that that's not the case. And in the chat, I challenge you all. I don't expect a lot of people to watch this today. It's probably gonna reach out into the ether, and then I'm gonna replace Logic as the worst person in Trimedia. I want
to know, I was under the assumption, I'm sorry, just real quick. I was under the assumption that y'all kind of read over the document a little bit before I came in.
Oh yeah, no, we did.
Okay,
I
just wanted to be clear on that. That way the audience was kind of, you know what I mean? Because I've been kind of vague a little bit and you know, the way we have discussions.
Yeah, we read it. Go ahead. This is a
happy birthday.
That is a weird one. But go ahead. go ahead, Gilbert.
I mean, is it conspiracy talk? Is it 5G talk? And, you know, all that. I mean, from what I've read, Trump says that he's not in support of it. From what I've read, it's, you know, the Heritage Foundation, you know, so to know how true anything is until I got to see something happen, or there's some type of document, there's some type of evidence linking people to knowing things or whatever. But it is what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, if it happens, either you're going to succumb to it or you're going to bounce and leave the country or go in hiding. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. So that's how I look at it.
Just so everybody understands what it is, I'm reading. It's a 922 page list of policy recommendations. So let's just use Trump as an example. Even if he did read it, which we know he didn't, I guarantee that he thought saying he was against it was in the best interest at that point. Because I believe if he read it and understood it, he would not disagree with it. Because if he got elected, it would give him more and followed it. See, the election, like Brass is saying, and following these recommendations ain't the same thing. They're just recommendations. They're not policy. They're policy recommendations. So if he did read it, which I'm sure most people did. 922
It's
pages.
900 and some pages. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
everybody
That's a
read an
lot. So
overview. Yeah,
yeah, you throw that in the summary bot
yeah.
and let it break it down.
That's why I didn't want to do the show, bro.
Yeah,
Because
no,
I
it's a
was
lot.
thinking
No,
and
no, we can
saying
stick
it's
to the
like
main
I'm
topics,
not
but
about to read 900 some pages. It
no,
ain't happening, bro.
I'll just read one thing to respond to your, the part you mentioned about the government overhaul of the government.
Yep.
The idea is to give the president and his appointees more power over the executive branch relative to permanent nonpartisan civil service professionals who they may disparage as the deep state. So that would make government employees political appointees, so they could be, I guess,
That's what I'm talking about right
yeah,
there.
You
That's
give
what I
them
was
that
talking about
test.
earlier.
Are you
Yeah.
loyal to me or blah blah blah?
By the way,
And that was another issue I think we had with that administration was, are you loyal to the American system of government, or are you loyal to this individual? And that was just another example that how he made it about himself. So I think that was one of the myths or issues with it, concentrating the power to the president. So that would have some impact if they gave the president more power.
He already did that. They actually had to overturn that. You know what I'm saying? That was one of the things they had to overturn within Biden's first 100 days. You know what I'm saying? But I just wanted y'all to know. I wanted to ask a question though, too.
Okay, go ahead.
Real quick.
And then I'm gonna get
This
into
one's gonna be
myth too.
2-seconder. Did y'all know that he did y'all know like what the fake electorates was? Do y'all know like what that is and what that means, a fake electorate?
Yeah, go ahead and explain though.
So we have a set people who are appointed to put their vote in. These are the electorate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he will go. This is how far this guy will go. Like he sent fake people. Like they would know. Like they would know. Like who these people. Like we didn't already pick the electorate. You know what I'm saying? Like it's y'all think he won't go far, but like he done kind of showed y'all a little bit where he gonna go. Like to me, like y'all can name all the other stuff y'all want to name, but to me, that's the number one wildest thing that happened, and people don't even really talk. That's crazy to me. But go ahead, y'all. Go ahead.
I think I think he would definitely, Donald Trump and his advisors would definitely fall under the definition of habitual line steppers. That's not even up for debate. They're definitely problematic per se. So my second misconception or myth in regards to it, if you want to read all the pages, that's fine. But my second one is that it'll immediately implement all these changes. So, as you said, these are policy recommendations, not policy. And also another, key point to this, and we're just giving you talking points so to help you. It's just different perspectives, right? Just so happens that now I don't get to host. I have to actually give my own perspectives at this point, which is highly uncomfortable. But is that Project 2025 is not a completed document. It's not even in the. It's basically a concept right now. With it's still being reviewed. Some things are still going to be put in. Some things are still going to be thrown out. And this is why I say I still lean on America. The checks and balances of it, the legislative process. The amendments. There are going to be a lot of filibusters when it comes to this. You're going to have Democrats pulling pillows and blankets for some of these things if they're even brought up. So I think that what I mean by it's still in its concept phase, or the thought that you think that this will immediately implement all these changes, the more extreme things, Logic, to speak to your point, the more extreme things still have to be brought before Congress. They still have to be debated, amended. Some things had to be put in. And that the majority of these, like Hit said earlier, they're just recommendations. So if I'm here, you may think that I'm here to support the document. I am in no support whatsoever of that document. I just understand more. I'm giving you my purview, my perspective based on what I know about political policy and how the government works. So all of these the most extreme changes, these are still things that will still have to be debated, amended, and discussed. Does anybody want to say anything to that before I move forward with the next one?
I mean, that's kind of like where I started my understanding is that whereas there might be a lot of things in there that's disagreeable to us, by us I mean like maybe not directly benefit issues in the Black community, or even make some of them worse. It sounds like there's still at least a decent amount of measures already in place to at least have to send it through the electoral process, not the electoral process. What did you call it? The
legislative
process, right?
Yeah.
Right. That still seems like a huge hurdle that would have to be addressed. And maybe there are some creative ways to get some of that stuff through, but it doesn't look like the direct approach is coming directly down the barrel of the gun. At least it doesn't seem that way. I could be wrong, but from what I understood or how I heard it explained, that's the big hurdle, right? And that's I guess that'd be the big hurdle with anything. That'd be the big hurdle of slavery coming back, or from the way I understand.
No. Call it what it is. The nigga ban.
Yeah, the nigga ban.
Let's keep it right there. Yeah. I know Hitch just like you, mother. Go ahead. Yeah, I know Hitch just gave me the look of all look.
And I like that. I like the nigga ban. Boy, I want to be clear on the nigga ban. The nigga ban is it's really
I'm about to ban you niggas.
It's a slippery slope argument. You know what I'm saying? That's really what it is. You know what I mean? But I'm serious about that though, man. Where do we, because they they're chiseling away. They're not, because of course they're not gonna come kick the door in, right? But I believe they're chiseling away at democracy. And this is the blueprint to how to chisel away at the weak spots. You know what I'm saying?
Hey Corey, it seemed like I heard this before. The boiling of the frog analogy. You just can't throw a frog in boiling water. He gonna jump out. You gotta gradually just turn it up, and that's what I'm hearing is happening.
Yeah, definitely. That's basically what it is. You know what I mean?
Posterior's thought said, "This is why I've always appreciated Pos." He said they've been kicking in doors. They just didn't kick yours in yet. So yeah, you always like to get the a different perspective. So I think that's funny. Go ahead, Corey.
Right. And yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it just depends on how you look at it. I could agree in some ways with that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I really want to appreciate Brass and Logic today, because it keeps it grounded. The way y'all thinking is a good way to be thinking, man. I'm not saying y'all wild and crazy, or y'all should have my view. I think I wish I could. I wish I was in y'all frame of mind, but I just see it a little bit. I just see it a little bit different. And then Brass, I told you I listen very well. You mentioned that kind of that's kind of not politics, but you actually work the polls and things like that. Am I correct with that? Or so,
No, me and my father has a political analyst and consultant company in New York City, and
okay.
well, the tri-state, and we've been fresh out of college till up until recently this year, we've helped over 287 people get elected in roughly 311 campaigns.
Mm-hmm. So
So,
and so you particularly, right? And I think a lot of our leaders, when I think about your mind frame, I think about a lot of our leaders. They've been around it and they see the beauty of democracy, the beauty of an
mm,
election, the beauty
yep,
of campaigning,
yep.
the beauty of arguing your policy. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And coming out and winning or losing or whatever, however the stakes may be, and then you shake hands and you get behind that guy because you want America to do good in the end. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? You've seen that firsthand, and that's beautiful. And I think a lot of our leaders see that firsthand all the time through participating in legislation get passed and
Mm.
everything. And it's just the order of the day. It's just democracy works. It's beautiful, and of course, everybody wants to be a part of democracy. Of course, no one wants to tear this down, But I don't think I think it working so well has let guards down. You know what I'm saying?
I would agree with that.
And we're not listening to the warnings that the forefathers. Now they gave us and they gave us kind of a blueprint and to kind of work with and tweak, right?
Hmm.
But they also gave us warnings, though, warning signs too. So why look so hard at the blueprint and say, well, they were so perfect and the blueprint is so perfect and beautiful, but the warning signs that they gave us, we're gonna look at that as kind of fear mongering. Go ahead and respond to me, man. Some either
No,
one.
I think that I think the I agree and I appreciate that, and I agree with a lot of the points of, and that's why I didn't. It would be easy. It would have been easy. Trump just got to the Republican National Convention, by the way. It would be easy to just for me to say when Hit said that the guardrails are weak. Um, the guardrails resemble to me right now the Hoover Dam. That
Weaker. I didn't
is
say. I said they were weaker than people believe they are. That's
okay. So weaker
that.
than people to believe they are. That's cool.
That's what I'm saying. That's my premise is that people think these are staunch guardrails that hold this republic in place. And if you look at it, they're not as strong as I believe people think they are. That's what I'm saying, because
Okay, cool.
they
I'm
can
cool
be
with that.
challenged and changed, and
And that's why I say it resembles the Hoover Dam. It's all this is this one wall, right? It's these amendments, these things within the Constitution. A lot of people they haven't read necessarily the they haven't read the Constitution, the 7 articles, the 27 amendments, um, the first 10 being the Bill of Rights. They haven't really read these things, but there's a groundswell of these things to change because, to be quite honest, this is a very long time ago. So with social media and more of a quick fix news, a quick fix information, or just why can't we just change this? I saw this with the same sex marriages, and I remember it. I remember the when I say politics is, and to quote the great Jay-Z, I try to do it every time. Politics as usual. It's important to kind of keep things in perspective for me. Now I understand why people freak out. I get it, right? Because the writing's on the wall and the skeletons are coming out, or chickens coming to roost, whatever term people want to use. I've just heard them all. And when same-sex marriages, when that was up before the Supreme Court, and they're challenging the Constitution, I remember it was like, the population's gonna end, and it's gonna be Sodom and Gomorrah, all these different things, and it just didn't come to pass. And then we watched the democratic process work, and then the Supreme Court's rule. So that's where I stay. Unless someone else got something, I want to move to the next myth. Anybody else want to come and say something real quick? But I want to go into Project 2025. It's not going to eliminate all key social programs. But go ahead.
Can y'all hear me? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
my bad. So I thought you were done a minute ago. But anyway, I don't know if this is a great comparison, but some of the stuff were like during the progressive era, where Teddy Roosevelt was, I guess he became aware of a lot of social pressures in some ways, like through local media and all this kind of these things that were like shedding light on social problems, kind of like now I wouldn't say forced him or Congress, but absolutely like made it advantageous, I can say, man. Like it kind of brought them to start addressing a lot of different things. And I think that there can just be another layer of measures that kind of affects how all of this stuff works. And there's already a lot of anti Project 2025 rhetoric out there. I think even another layer like that would provide a barrier for it to just run rampant through the White House. I don't know if you would say that as a fair comparison, but like I think from how I see it, it seems like there might be a little legitimacy there as far as another barrier. Us the people kind of being a little bit of that barrier.
Well, I think, in politics, a lot of times the politicians, I tell everybody all the time, the main job of a politician is to get reelected. Then you got to represent constituency, be knowledgeable about legislation, know how the government works. Trump isn't the only person in Washington that doesn't know much about it, is not a politician. Like I would say Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a Republican, and she's one of my one of the people I respect the least. There a lot of the people in office in this day and age are just, and this is for the past 20, 30 years, maybe even before that, but I'm not, that versed in before that, other than what my father told me. But their main job is to get reelected, because I've just been through it too many times. They say what they can to get elected. Now, it's a great thing when you get somebody like a Cory Booker, or you get somebody like a Barack Obama, or a Ross Baraka, or a Bernie Sanders even. Like, these are people that know and understand legislation. They know how things work. Pelosi, Strom Thurmond, even being a racist, he definitely knew how the government worked. And how policy was moved forward. And that's what I mean by these things. All of these myths that I name, I only have 4 more. All of these myths that I'm naming, there's one addendum to every single one of these myths. All of these changes, or any proposed changes by Project 2025, will have to be carefully considered, debated, amended, filibustered, put through the legislative process in order for it to pass. And I think that's, to me, that slows down a little bit of the sky is falling aspect of Project 2025. Is why, for me, I didn't even think this is like it's a great discussion. I'm glad I get to talk politics finally. But for me, because I have a deep understanding, I'm not a genius when it comes to politics, but the legislative process, I'm pretty good at it. A lot of these things are just like my man Hit said, policy recommendations, not necessarily policy. But I want to get into this to move it forward. We at the 2-hour mark, and I don't really want to go past 2 hours and 30 minutes. That Project 2025 will eliminate key social programs. you know, there are some things in there, like you said earlier, Logic. You asked me what was some of the things that were very scary. To remove the Department of Education is a scary concept. To remove the Environmental Protection Agency is a scary concept. But if you read, you know, they'll say these flash things to get on the news and get us, like people like us, talking about things on YouTube. But if you understand the Republican Party and their pillars, not necessarily the 4 pillars of Project 2025, the pillars are efficiency in government and less government. So an extreme person would then say, oh, okay, less government. Well, then just get rid of the IRS, get rid of the Department of Education, get rid of the EPA. So you'll see these splash headlines. But for me, I know for a fact any Republican in their first 180 days, the main thing that they would try to get across, because that's across any political platform that's running for an office, they're trying to reduce waste. Right? They're not trying to eliminate essential services. You know, Republican, you know, I have children also. So to just outright get rid of the Department of Education, it'll get you on the news and it'll get Trimedia doing a show on it, as other people do. But Project 2025, that misconception that it's just going to, you know, within the first 180 days, we'll no longer have an environmental protection agency. If anybody actually thinks that that's something that'll pass, yeah. Anybody want to speak to that? Then I'll get into Miss 4 and 5.
Yeah. So and with what I think I agree to basically what you're alluding to, and this is kind of what I'm saying too, in a way. So when you look at it, you say, well, they wouldn't roll back the EPA or the environmental protection or whatever it is, and so what they'll do is, and Trump actually ran on this. This is what Trump ran on. He ran, and what got him elected, what got him popular was his rhetoric. But what actually got him elected was the donors, and the donors heard him say what he's doing is rolling back regulations. So what they and they exactly did that. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And not necessarily. So they didn't go for things like the EPA and you know he, like I said, he couldn't. It was a lot of red tape on his first go round. You know what I mean? It's mm-hmm. not going to be all this red tape this time. I'm trying to say, but they won't be doing it. He's distancing himself from this Project 2025, so they won't be doing it in that way. They're going to implement an eradication of regulations. That's how they go at it, and the regulations is hitting us right now. They did away, or they cut the funding to the consumers. What's that department called? I can't remember the department name. The consumers department.
Right, to protect the consumers in the United States. The
Yes. That's why they price gouging us right now. We feeling the effects. See, it don't happen right there on the day they put this in order, and then all of a sudden everything changed and bam, it's in order. It don't work like that. It worked implementary. You know what I'm saying? So like mm-hmm. you know, so like I said, we feeling the effects of those regulations being rolled back right now. But go ahead.
Anybody else want to speak to it? Speak to it. Y'all participate. I'm just, because I'm gonna be done. I only have
no, we definitely gonna keep it moving. Maybe another
Trump's
half hour.
Ear is, Trump's ear is
we don't care, but go ahead.
I'm trying to show
we don't care
real quick. Trying to show something real quick.
I don't care, but go ahead.
Hold on 1 second. I just want to take a small
all right, while you find that, let me speak to
go ahead. I'm about to share my screen though.
I'm getting some tinfoil hat about this whole situation.
Politician uses catchphrases also,
or
and it actually
love and excitement because of what happened. on
all
Saturday.
right, you gotta
can
mute
hear
that.
everybody.
I
Go ahead.
don't want to hear him. If I want to hear him, I'll turn it
He's
off.
not talking. They're just showing a picture.
I mean, the
of him on the big
commentators.
screen.
I don't want to hear them. I want to hear them.
Oh, okay, I got
No, I was saying that politicians use the catchphrases too. Like just like you said, someone's going to say, oh, they're going to use it to get rid of regulation. Someone on the other side of the aisle might say, I'm going to use it to get rid of regulation, and people want to hear that. So that's on both sides, that people don't necessarily may not care about all of the details or who, what, where, when. They may just hear that catchphrase, we're going to roll back regulations. Yeah, right. That's what's holding up my small business. That's what's holding up me getting certified to do certain things, or getting grant money or things like that. So, that works on both sides, using catchphrases. All right. Need to get him off the screen, or we ain't going to be able to talk about nothing.
No. Go ahead. I just want to see him.
No. We can talk about
like
him.
the Patriot Act.
We talk about.
That's what the Patriot Act is. One of them catchphrases or the right to work. The right to work. Don't that sound good? The right to work. Is we supposed to be listening to him, or am I talking?
No. We can hear you. I don't have the audio on.
No, I'm just I'm saying
you can't stare at the screen. You're gonna be distracted, and that's why.
I just want to.
No. I just wondered if y'all was playing the sound, and I
no sound. Go ahead. We talking over it.
Good.
You got
So right to work sounds really good. I don't know what person, if you put a catchphrase out like right to work, I don't know what person that don't sound good to. You know what I'm saying? But it don't mean good actually at all. Period. Point blank. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of catchphrases to my man's point, to my man his point there. You know what I'm saying? That's actually, they sound good, but they detrimental actually. You know what I mean?
So the other point would be to that Project 2025 ignores public input. Like I said, it's in its concept phase. It's conceptual now. It's been getting drafted. It started in 2020, but it's still in a conceptual phase. And a lot of the people, even people that have donated to it, part of the reason why it's taking such a long time is because they're still going to have input. They still have some concerns, and what that does is similar to what we're talking about. Even amongst the Republican Party, even though it's separate, even amongst the Heritage Foundation, Vance and Trump shaking hands for the first time publicly. Oh, they didn't shake hands. Trump is a piece of work. Okay, there we go. All right, get it done. So one of the things that you got to understand is even within the Heritage Foundation, they don't agree. So there's still, before this becomes an actual thing, and like I said, I think it's going to go the way of anything else. But before it becomes an actual thing, even they have to discuss it. They have to, quote unquote, decide on what the final pieces of it are. I'm going to go right into 6 and 7. Did that eliminate social programs? Okay, well, my last point is that it's solely a partisan effort, and this is something that people don't really understand. Oh, the other point was that it's unconstitutional. All of the policies in Project 2025 are going to be for review. So that's another layer. That's what I mean, logic by the legislative process and oversight. They're all going to be subject to judicial review, and that's where it hits. It's talking about the courts, and that's the strength of the courts to interpret the framework of the Constitution, and if these things are even constitutional. I know what Corey's going to say is that essentially the Supreme Court is going to be Republican if Trump gets elected, but it's still going to have to prevent overly extreme stuff. It's going to have to work within the framework of the Constitution, or if we're going to do the sky is falling theory, they're going to throw the Constitution out. And then let me get this last point in, so that way after this we can close. Is that it's solely a partisan effort. Now, while this is brought up by the Heritage Foundation, the implementation of this and pretty much all of the goals are going to require still bipartisan collaboration, because this is a Heritage Foundation transition plan. It's not a Republican plan. It's a Heritage Foundation plan that some Republicans don't agree with. So in order for any of this to pass, it's still going to need bipartisan support, i.e. Democrats. So basically what that'll do is not that they're going to throw these things out, but what it'll do is it'll bring more of a balanced outcome, because Democrats are going to have to get involved in order to pass this stuff. Don't think that they're just going to go to sleep and say, well, the Supreme Court's Republican, Congress is Republican, White House is Republican, we're just going to let this go. No, that's not how the legislative process works. So in closing for me, and then y'all can take this over, it proposes a lot of changes, right? And some of them are extreme. I agree. Many of them are extreme. I agree. But it still kind of goes along with Republican principles. But I just want to be very clear. It has to go through legislative processes and public input for those who don't know how the government works. And I think clarifying for me these misconceptions, because I know there'll be other shows and the comments are going to be a little spicy, but in these other shows, I just want to be very clear that no matter what this transition plan from the Heritage Foundation states, that it's not overruling the Constitution, it's not overruling any of the branches of government, and that it's still going to have to go through a legislative process and public input. That's why people like Corey or people that are taking more of a stance of saying, like, listen, if this happens, this is crazy. That's why Corey's perspective is important. And that's what Trimedia is about, is giving everybody's perspective, because the majority of the world, believe it or not, in my opinion, or the majority of the United States, a lot of the people, the informed or uninformed, they feel the same way as Corey does. So that's why when he spoke about it in the Discord, you know, I didn't realize, and you know, my brothers, y'all can back me up if y'all want or not. Last night, as we were having a discussion, I never wanted to have this show, but as we were talking, I said, even to DQ, I was like, yeah, I think we need to have a show. Because if this is essentially what people are thinking, you know, i.e. the nigga ban, then I think it's a conversation that we have to remember, that there's a legislative process, checks and balances, in a form of government before we get any kind of impact or implementation for Project 2025. That's all I have to say about it. Y'all are more than welcome to take up arms and burn me at the stake, but that's essentially all I got. Yeah, what y'all got on it?
You want to go ahead, his, or you want I go
yeah,
ahead?
Yeah. I'll just close with saying, you know, stay informed, understand not just how government works, but how it also doesn't work. How it can't work sometimes due to things going on in society, administrations, you know, crises that go on in other parts of the world. Things change, and you know, courts are filled with judges who are appointed. So it, you know, even though that may be a guardrail, if the appointees are left or right leaning, how they interpret the Constitution and certain cases that come through the courts are going to have different effects. And I would just say, like Roe versus Wade, 50 years that stood, and that was overturned recently. So things can change. You know, constitutional rights can change. They can be amended. Yeah, just stay informed, especially locally where you live and in your state, because that's where a lot of this stuff starts. You know, I know federal policies and politics would seem more interesting, but it definitely starts at home. Thanks to everybody who stopped through, who came up on the panel. We appreciate it.
Cuban, go ahead.
Definitely appreciate all the points of view.
Last, Corey. I'm gonna let you go last, Corey.
Okay.
Go ahead, Cuban.
That video makes me want to puke.
Get you a bucket. Get you a bucket. Go ahead.
Good bucket. Now I'm just, you know, I came in late on the conversation. I'm just sitting back listening. I like to just observe. But yeah, there's some things I could say, but just things was going to leave as is. Psych. Zero trust, man. Zero trust for the government, man. Zero trust. I don't know how else to put it.
Okay, Logic.
I think you did a great job. I actually learned a lot tonight. And I kind of like, it makes me more interested to kind of like keep up with it. Um, to know that there are some blind spots, I think that was kind of like, that was a little bit of what I expected, but I wasn't like really familiar with maybe how it's or what part of the whole process has the blind spots. But the way Hits and Corey described it, I think that they definitely taught me something with like the local court systems, local governments, and how like that process isn't perfect, which I knew it wasn't perfect. I wasn't necessarily understanding like how it becomes imperfect or but from the way you explained it, right, it sounds like the big measures are the parts that you know would operate on a large scale. It seems like there are a lot. I'm not going to say enough, but I would say a lot of boundaries and processes in place to where it doesn't, even if it does happen, it might potentially trickle in here and there, but certainly not just going to be like, oh, just because Trump is president, now we got 900 pages of truth rather than potential suggestions, as Hit says. So I learned a lot. I think it was a good show. I definitely learned a lot.
Before I get to you, or DQ, you still in the building? Okay. Before I get to Corey, I just want to make a small clarification in regards to Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade, it was definitely overturned, right, by the courts. It was in regards to a law, Dobbs-Jackson in Mississippi. They upheld, it was the case involved the Mississippi law that banned most abortions for 15 weeks of pregnancy, which directly challenged the precedent set by Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court decision was 6-3 to uphold that law, but in a 5-4 decision, they explicitly overturned Roe v. Wade. The opinion, Alito, who wrote the majority opinion, he stated that the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion and that Roe and Planned Parenthood versus Casey were wrongly decided. And what it does is essentially a return to the states, that the states are going to be able to regulate abortion to individual states, allowing them to set their own policies. Because I know a lot of times we just say, and I appreciate you, Hits, for bringing that up. A lot of times we just say Roe v. Wade was overturned but we assume that people understand exactly what that means. And I know I do that a lot. And but supporters of it, advocates for the decision, argue that it corrects a constitutional overreach and allows states to reflect the values of their populations, specifically, not just an overall national thing. But critics argue that it undermines women's rights and access to healthcare, disproportionately affecting marginalized groups. So I want to be specific with Roe v. Wade when we talk about it. Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, they shot it back down to the states. Basically, that's a as y'all can see, that's a rolling theme. Shooting it back down to the lower courts. And then everybody knows kind of already which way some of those states was already trying to which way those states was leaning. But I want to say, man, that was I'm glad you did that. You brought the Roe v. Wade up, because that goes into what I was gonna end up with. And what I was gonna end up with was I really appreciate this conversation, man. This
Mhm.
conversation means a lot. I hope this gets around. This conversation gets around, and people actually hear this conversation. But I want to stress to people to read the opinions of the Supreme Court justices. When you read the opinions of the Supreme Court justices, because they write these opinions, and you'll see the way that the courts is leaning. You'll see some of the things that's coming down the pipeline that you know the way that they're trying to or some of the things that they're trying to implement. And that'll kind of give you a open eye of the way they working. You know what I mean? Because it's none of this is a surprise because you can read Justice Alito's opinions, you can read Clarence Thomas's opinions way back in the day about DEI and things like that, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I just stress to people to kind of get more involved in democracy. Participate in democracy because it's not affecting your life, right? But it's going to affect your kids and your grandkids' life. Most of us on here, and none of this stuff is I mean, like, I'm not saying they're gonna come and get. Somebody said the other day on the Discord, is they gonna come and get your house, Corey? You know what I'm saying? So I don't want people to think that's what I'm saying. Like, they're not coming to get us, but they coming to get your kids, though, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying that metaphorically and kind of literally there. You know what I mean? Society, you want things to be right for your kids in the future. And I don't think, if you read some of these opinions from some of these justices, I don't think that they have my kids' best interest at heart. So I'm gonna leave out with that. I really appreciate this conversation again, man. And Logic, you always make me feel good about the conversation too, because you always give me something like, yeah, it was worth it. You said today that you said, well, I never was really, I wasn't interested in the conversation like that, but now the way y'all explain it, it makes it seems like this is something I should, get more involved in. So I appreciate that, Logic, and peace to y'all, man.
Yeah, I
And before
appreciate
I
it.
forget, Brass, 1 second, and before I forget, guys, anyone listening and who listens in the future, obviously, thank you. But check out the community section on our YouTube page. We have surveys in there all the time just to get a better idea of what people think about these different topics. So always check the community page, like, share, subscribe, please, and we appreciate those who already have. So
Yeah, and
that's
in
all I got.
closing, I just want to say, just understand that this is all. I am in no agreement with the full document or the concept of Project 2025. The title is satire. Um, that's why I put it in quotes. We're not in support of Project 2025. If that's what you're gonna run with, then put your track shoes on and enjoy. But on no planet would I ever say get rid of I just like to put things in perspective, even if it's not popular. It's not a popular conversation to say, let the government do its work, right? But this is
And
also why.
whoever thought that wasn't following the conversation correctly, you know what
Yeah,
I'm
no, but I
saying?
think a lot in the title. In the title, it says Project 2025 making life easier for everyone. It's humor. It's rhetoric, it's satire. It's so that we could have a good discussion, not a we just hate Project 2025. I want the perspective of that. But you know why, Corey, I respect where you stand is because you're educated in the government and how it works. And I appreciate that process, that perspective you gave us last night of, well, listen, I know how the government works and I know that, but are you paying attention to this? Are you paying attention to this? The immunity, these are the kinds of conversations I like to have. It's just, we're a media company. Sometimes I don't like to get into the critiques, but I actually appreciate conversations like this. We have been mulling this conversation over for weeks, but I finally got permission from the Godfather Hits and talked to the brothers about it, and we got it done. And I appreciate conversations like this. These are the shows that I don't care if anybody watches. I just like the Trimedia is in the it's something we could put in the archives and say that we were on the footsteps of history. So I appreciate that. So I
But
love you guys.
why can't we make this cool? Why can't
Yeah,
this be?
hell
You
yeah.
got DQ on the panel. Come on, man.
Cool as hell.
Like when I don't care what you're talking about. You got DQ on the panel. It's what's popping. Period. I'm just gonna say that. You know what I mean? But peace to y'all, man. Peace,
Hey,
brother.
man, peace to you.
Salute, salute.
And with that, we in close. Brothers, y'all can hang out in the back chat for a second if y'all want. And we out of here, G.